Reading sources with a critical eye. So when we read and collect sources particularly, so when we research, we want to be critical. We don't want to just take everything as true. So we want to actually consider it and think about it as we're going through. So what are some things that could help us be critical, critical readers? We want to ask ourselves certain questions. So what questions are those? So the first thing, we want to ask, what arguments does the author make? That's key. We want to identify what is actually being said, what's being argued, what the thesis is, all that stuff, and how it's being argued, what's being used to defend a position. If you don't know that, then you haven't read closely enough to really understand the thing, right? And then you could ask yourself the follow-up question. You know the argument. How persuasive was the argument? Was it good? Was it bad? Where did they convince you? What do you think they convinced you on, and what didn't they convince you on? What reasons and evidence did you like, and what didn't you like? What did you find good and bad? And what's the author's stance is a further question you can ask. Are they biased? Do they give all the positives and no negatives, or all the negatives and no positives? Is it a fair stance? What's their attitude? What's their tone? We want to identify where they're coming from when they write this. Next question, do you recognize ideas you've run across from other sources? So a lot of sources, if you're studying a topic, all those sources will be related by the same topic. So do all the sources agree? Do some offer different perspectives? Do some disagree? Where are they all coming from as a group? Like how does the whole big picture of all the sources together, how do they all fit into that? We can also ask, what position are you taking, and does the source support or challenge your position? So presumably you want to find a lot of sources that support whatever you're trying to say, and you use those as evidence, right? Use those to support your thesis. But you probably also want to find some sources that challenge your position too. So you want to find objections to your thesis so that you acknowledge them and respond to them. So that's a good thing too. So consider what the source says about the thesis that you're making. And then you can ask, what can you tell about the intended audience and purpose of the source? So they have a purpose too. The author of the source had a purpose in writing it. What did they write it for? And are you using it in the same way? Are you using it as they intended it? Are you trying to contradict them? What's your relationship to the source?